doing? Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Yellowstone Season 4, Episode 2. I did a video on Episode 1, so if you haven't seen that video, check it out. Again, I will say I will be spoiling, so I'm going to be doing these reviews as the episodes come out, which I'm thankful that Amazon actually is releasing the episodes weekly. I think it's weekly. I'm pretty sure it has to be, right? But because I was trying to find when the next episode airs, and I think it might be airing on Sundays, but I could not, for whatever reason, I could not find the schedule. I'll just have to look a little bit more. But I prefer shows to do that on the streaming. I know there's a big argument that people say, why not release the whole thing so that it can just be binged? But this argument that it's better to watch it all at once, I understand because I've binged plenty of shows, but for the show itself, it doesn't make a lot of sense because the show just comes and goes so quickly. If the entire 10 episodes or 12 episodes are released in one fell swoop, it's over. So it's all this hype built up, and then in a weekend, it's done and gone. So I think it's better. I prefer it this way. I don't know, maybe that's just my age, and I know that nowadays everything's just binge and everybody wants their content as fast as possible and they want to consume it and move on. But it actually makes it better for me too. So that way I can have time to watch the episode and then do a review. Because when it gets all binged at one time, I was going to try to watch the whole thing and then do a review, but I think this format's a lot better. So without further ado, let's dive in. I have plenty of notes here. I will be going through a little more of a breakdown of the entire episode as the scenes went. I didn't do that in the first season. I'm sorry, the first episode, but I'm going to give it a try on this one. I think it might be better. So first thing, I wanted to catch up on something that I missed from season 3, the finale. There was something that happened. Again, I'm going to be spoiling, so you've been warned twice now. When John gets shot on the side of the road, I had completely forgot that the mother and son that he was helping change a tire, the mother was shot. Now, we never saw a body, but we did see her drop, and she took a few rounds to the back as she was running away. Her son was actually off on the side of the road, pretty far away, using the bathroom. And so did he leave the writing on the ground that described the vehicle and which way it was going and the arrow and blood? Because as I said, John was unconscious when we cut at the end of last season. And then this season, when he wakes up, it's already written on the ground. So where's the kid? What happened to him? Did the woman die? Where's her body? So I missed that completely. I actually went back and watched the ending of season 3, and I had totally forgot that the mother was gunned down, which sucks. So that's going to be, I'll be curious where that goes. I'm sure they're going to pick it up, and we're going to find out what happened to the kid and or the mother, but they did not even touch on it last episode or this episode. So this episode kicks off with John. He's waking up early, going for a ride. I will say that John was, his character was sick with cancer, and I think it was like season 1 or 2, but I mean, we've seen him during that whole story arc, how uncomfortable he was, and pain and everything. And it's just, I find it very unrealistic that the man was shot multiple times with a fully automatic long rifle at point blank range, and he's just fine. I mean, he's not just fine. Like he's struggling, he's in pain and stuff, but I don't know. That just bugs me. It just does. I'm trying not to harp on it, but every time I see him, I'm like, man, you're the luckiest person in TV land, because you just walked away from a major shooting. But anyways, he's in a lot of pain. He's heading out, and then Casey spots him. He's in his vehicle, he's in his truck, and he sees his dad going off, and and he pulls out the binoculars and checks him out, and so he goes to join him. He catches up to him, and John is in like a hot spring, and it's pretty cool little. I mean, I will say the scenes that the shots that they use where they're filming, man, it is just beautiful. Just it's gorgeous backdrop. So when we see him in like the hot spring and the river and or the spring or whatever, or the creek or whatever you want to call it, it's so nice. It's like one of those places where like, oh man, I want to go there. I want to vacation there. I want to buy land there. But so him and Casey, they have a nice little talk. Casey joins him, and they discuss a little bit what happened. Who did what, who do they believe was in charge of sending that team after them. because it was a militia group that did the hit on all of the Duttons at one time at the end of the season 3. So Casey believes that Jamie had nothing to do with it, the other brother. I agree. I don't think Jamie had anything to do with it. He just, first of all, they've turned him in he's such a wuss and he's useless. I just don't see him doing that. But I do have thoughts on who I think who did that, or who was involved, at least organizing it. But the thing is Beth thinks that Jamie had something to do with it, and it's just one more thing where it's like it's another reason for Beth to hate Jamie and loathe him even more, and that just they just keep beating that drum, and it's so annoying. It doesn't make any sense that Jamie would do this. He wants his father's approval. That's all he's ever wanted. He is Weasley, and he's not the most. He's loyal to. I think he's loyal to the family, and I think he's loyal to his father, but he has his own agenda going on. He's always kind of maneuvering, and he's easily swayed with power. If he's going to get power, or if he's going to get some sort of control over something, he's going to bite on that. So I don't know. I just don't think I don't think he has the guts to do what Beth thinks he did. But they devise a plan. John and Casey devise a plan. They're going to try to flush him out with serving the warrants on the militia to see what Jamie's going to do, because they want him to do it because he is an attorney. I think he's actually the DA now. But anyways, regardless, they do devise a little plan. They want to kind of flush him out. And then they talk about how they're just going to kill everybody. They're going to wipe them out. Everyone who had anything to do with them, the assassination attempt on their family. John is saying, let's just kill them all. So pretty cool in that regard. There's going to be a war. This is going to be a season-long uncovering. I hope they do take a while to uncover who was involved with what, because it is only 10 episodes, I believe. So I hope they don't just go right into this person, Jamie was responsible, or this other person responsible. I hope it's kind of a mystery. I think it would add to the show. But then they cut to Jamie. He is purchasing like 1,000-acre ranch. Beautiful, again, another beautiful backdrop. But it's him and his father, his biological father. And he is played by, his name's Garrett Randall in the show. But he's played by an actor called Will Patton, named Will Patton. I really like him. I've always been a fan of his work. He just shows up in a lot of supporting roles, and he does a great job. So, and it's interesting because when Jamie meets him last season, at the end of last season, he's like, he looks like crap. He's completely in a shitty ranch, like rundown little place. And he's a worker. You can tell he's like a metal worker or something like that. But, he definitely seemed like he was on the outs. So now he's all clean cut. He's nice and dressed up. So obviously Jamie, is helping him financially, because it didn't seem like he had any money when he was introduced, but he's there. And so it's him and Jamie discussing this ranch, and Randall, no, Garrett, sorry, Garrett Randall. Garrett is telling him how he needs to make his own mark. And again, when you dangle that idea of power and Jamie making something of himself, he's going to jump on it. And I don't know where Jamie is getting all of his money, because obviously this isn't cheap. I know he's a Dutton. I know he probably has some funds of his own, but this is a big purchase. I mean, it kind of surprised me. But he went ahead and bought the house, bought the ranch, with his father kind of nudging him into it. So we'll see what happens with that. And me personally, the way his father was introduced and the way he speaks of the Dutton family and John specifically, I think that he's the one who had something to do with the hit on the Dutton family. I think he's the one I think he was involved to some degree, and I think he's using Jamie, and Jamie just doesn't see it. Jamie is, again, his character used to be a competent person in season 1. He was a lawyer, and he seemed to know his shit, but now he's kind of, I don't know, he's just kind of useless. So it would fit the show and what they've turned him into, for him to be this like totally blinded by the fact that he wants to make a name for himself, and he has his father sort of whispering in his ear, and nudging him along to make a move on the Dutton Ranch. So we'll see. But that's kind of where I think Garrett has something to do with the hit on the Duttons. So then they cut to the next scene is they go to the construction site of an airport that's being built, and it's part of. So I don't want to get into minutia of it. Basically, it's another corporation from last season, or maybe even the season before that, but it was last season. I'm pretty sure they want to build an airport. It was a big fight because obviously the Duttons don't want an airport, and the tribe who Rainwater's in charge of, who's the chief of, they don't want it either, but this big corporation is coming in because they got all the money in the world, and they're building an airport they're basically trying to buy up everything in Yellowstone. That's the gist of it. This corporation or corporations want to buy up Yellowstone and turn it into, some sort of city. They want to modernize it and whatever, wipe out the indigenous life and pour concrete on everything. But so the construction workers they're digging, and one of the guys finds something, and it turns out to be some remains of an animal. Then he finds remains of a human. He finds a skull. So that's obviously it stops construction, and we get introduced to another character. Her name is Jackie Weaver. She's played by Caroline Warner. So the guy he was kind of like a representative of this corporation from last season. His name is Ellis Steele, and he's played by a guy named John Emmett Tracy. I've seen him in other things. I think he's a pretty good actor. He's not like amazing or anything, but I think he's pretty decent. His character is kind of one note, but this Jackie Weaver, apparently she is, the hidden hand. She sits on the board, or she's on the board of directors for the company. And it's so funny because, and I have to talk about something that I know it's just going to turn people off. And it's like, but I have to say it. Hollywood just has a terrible way of introducing powerful women. They always make these powerful women seem so unrealistic. And I'm not saying there's not anyone like this in the world. Like, this is just, there's no way a woman would be this way or talk this way. But it just, the dialogue that they write is just bad. I mean, she's just, I don't know. The way she spoke, to Alice, it was just so demeaning. And she spit this line to him when she says that he's late, and he's apologizing, saying, well, your flight was early. And her line is, and I wrote this down because it's how stupid it is: I am never early and I am never late. I am the constant your time adjusts to. Who the hell talks like that? Like, it just was so it was so stupid, and it was terrible. It was a bad introduction for a character who I think will be this season's big baddie from the corporate world. And I don't know, Caroline Warner, I don't recognize her. Her voice is very distinct, but I don't recognize her from anything. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with this character. Her dialogue was trash. Couldn't stand it. She just, and she says fuck a lot. It's like, and it's funny because she's an elder woman, and her cussing like this, it just seems so forced. You could get her point across, and she could be just as cunning and intelligent and powerful without dropping that F-bomb all the time. It's just bad. I just don't like it. She only says it twice, I think, maybe 3 times in that, but it's like, she says it in like the first minute we meet her. So it's kind of annoying. So she did, but her plan, I like her idea, and she's bringing in a new tactic she wants to feed the greed of the local tribe. And because the land that the airport is being built on, this is her business's endeavor. This is what they're doing. And this construction, with this being a body found on, now there's like all this red tape that's going on between the tribe and the state and her company. And I thought that her approach is good. It's nice to see something different instead of the intimidation. They're just going to come in and wipe you out. We have all the money in the world, the regular sort of bullying corporate tactic. She's actually going to go on a different route. And she's talking about, like, we're just going to feed their greed, and they won't, That's the only way, you're the approach of intimidation is not going to work. So I actually like that. I thought that was cool. And then they move right over to the next scene where she meets Rainwater at the site, at the construction site, and her conversation with him was pretty good. She just basically lays it out. She talks like a human. She speaks like a very intelligent corporate woman, and she's not lying. She's throwing that money around. She's talking about funding their casino, and not just a casino. She wants to turn it into this 5-star resort where there's the best ski slopes in the world, and having $1,000 a night rooms, and all this stuff, Elton John tickets, and just having all these things, basically turning it into like Las Vegas of Montana. And I thought that it was a cool approach. I'm curious to see what happens, because Rainwater is a smart man. He's not an idiot, but he's just as ambitious as everybody else. So I don't think that he's immune to the temptation of this company, this corporate, whatever this corporation is, their money, because they obviously have a lot to fund what she's talking about, and she even says, like, we'll give you all this money. And he says, what does it cost me, basically? And she just says, we just want influence over what your decisions are. So we'll see how that plays out. I'll be curious if they make an alliance, and if they'll end up working together to sort of push the Duttons out. Will they join forces, or will Rainwater try to work with John to push the corporations back out again? I mean, this has kind of been a common theme. This is the 4th season, and now we're at the next corporation who's coming in to bulldoze the land and take the Duttons ranch and take the tribe's land. So it's rehashed material, but it does make for a decent season. We'll see. Okay, so then here we go again with Beth. So look, I just don't like her character. She talks like a total dickhead all the time, and she's constantly just crass. She has no class. She has this demeanor that she is just so much better than everyone else that she talks to. And it's funny because she only talks that way to men. So she has a real problem with men, and I don't think that they have done a good enough job to warrant her behavior. To be she's so hostile, and she's constantly insulting just men all the time. It just comes off as this like man-hating bitch. And it sucks, because when she was first introduced, I thought she was a cool character. I like her as an actress. I don't think she's a bad actress at all. I think she's a good actress, but just the writing and her character is just, and I get that a lot of people would gravitate toward that and like, oh yay, she's so powerful, strong and powerful woman. You put those men in their place. Listen, there have been plenty of strong women in movies and TV shows that I absolutely love. They don't have to act the way that she acts to accomplish that. And it's just constant venom being spit out of her mouth. And she just seems inhuman. She doesn't seem like a person that actually exists in this world. So she meets with her former boss, and they have a little back and forth, and the boss sort of threatens her and talks about how he's, basically fold up your tents and don't try to fight me. And she says that, because he says that they're owners of, I don't know, a big percentage of the land in Yellowstone, or Montana. And she says, read the fine print. You're only partial owner. And it was such a stupid ass line, because he was like surprised. It was almost like he didn't know, or like she told him something that he didn't know she knew. And she's like, you got to read the fine print, Bob. And it was such a real forced, stupid line, because it was like, this guy's the head of this huge, Schwarzenmeyer is the name. It's a law firm or whatever, corporation. Sounds like a law firm, but anyways, it might be like a financial corporation, like Merrill Lynch type thing. But it just seemed dumb that he, who is the head of this company, doesn't know what she just told him. Like it was a surprise. So again, it was just more forced controversy or information that only she knew that made her look cool. And it didn't make her look cool. It just didn't. It made the story seem stupid. It was just bad writing. I'm like he wouldn't know that, really? And she threw a drink at the guy. He's got his little right hand man with him, and he said he's a twerp anyways, but she throws a drink on him, and she just has some just shitty dialogue lines where she insults his manhood, she insults his, what's between his legs, and it's just like, oh my God, does she have anything to offer other than just crass, rude, behavior? It's so off-putting. And, Normie wife and me, we talk about it a lot. We always talk about the episode when we're done, and it's just like, that's like the one person that, Normie wife is, she's like, oh God, we could just do without her if Beth would just go away. So, I don't know. I just think every time she shows up on screen, when she's talking in sort of this business, when she's going back and forth with men specifically, it's such an eye roll moment. And they could just do so much better with her character. They can make her character everything that they want her character to be. They can make it without all of this stupid, rude cut downs and quips and one lines, and every other word being fuck, every other word being some insult to a man. It just doesn't hold water with me. It's just vapid and weak. And I don't know, super annoying. So anyways, we go now to Jimmy. So I forgot, this was another thing too that I forgot about the end of season 3. So Jimmy he was doing, I don't know what you call it, because he's riding Broncos. He's in the rodeo. So he's doing the whole 8-second ride, bound on bulls. He's doing it on Broncos horses, and he gets hurt, and then he goes to this whole rehab thing, and he's back. So he was supposed to have never done that again. He promised John that he would never ride again, and that he would just be a ranch hand and just work. And John paid for all of his medical bills, and he said, you can never do this again. Just promise me that, and then we're good. You don't have to worry about the money. So I forgot that at the end of season 3, Jimmy jumps on a horse on the ranch, and he does exactly what he said he wouldn't do, gets bucked off, lands on his neck, and then he's out cold. And that's how the season ended. So I actually forgot about it. I apologize. I forgot completely that even happened. But so he's in rehab from that injury, and he suffered some major injuries to his neck and his spine. So he's going through some pretty extensive rehab, learning how to walk, like just crazy, crazy injury. But I've always rooted for Jimmy. He's a cool character. I like him. And when they introduced him, it was like he does such a great job he does a great job of making you feel bad for him. Like you're rooting for him. He's a total underdog. And if he would just get out of his own way, he could make something of himself. And he's had a really good journey. And his girlfriend, her name's Mia, she's played by Eden Brolin. I'm pretty sure that's Josh Brolin's daughter. She's such a cool character. She's cool as shit. She has been by his side the entire time. Through his first injury, now through his second, she's right there with him in the rehab, step by step. So she's a down ass bitch, and I love it. I think it's cool as shit. She's a great actress too. Well, this is the only thing that I can recall seeing her in, so I won't say she's a great actress across the board, but I think she does a great job playing her character as Jimmy's girlfriend. So he gets released from the hospital, and he's heading back to the ranch. So then we cut back to the ranch again, and it's Beth coming back from her triumphant meeting with her former boss, and the sheriff is there. And there's something else that I totally forgot to touch on from the last episode of my last review. So we got introduced to another character, and it's a young boy. I think I forgot, he said his age. I think he's like 14 years old. And when Beth is in the hospital with John she's there for, to help him as support. John's in the hospital recovering from his gunshot wounds. Well, she meets this kid outside while she's smoking a cigarette. And I thought it was such a great scene. And I wish it's Beth's character in that scene is like what I love about her character. We need more of that. We need her, because her being a human, like having some sort of compassion underneath that overbearing, crass, demeaning, behavior that she has, it humanizes her, and it makes her likable. And I thought that her interaction with Carter was great. I really loved it, and she was there for him, and Carter was there at the hospital waiting outside because his dad was he had overdosed on heroin and he was dying. And he actually goes inside. He gets called in by the hospital or the doctor to come in and say goodbye to his father, and she joins him. Beth joins him, and it was a really great, touching scene. And it really, I really liked that scene, and I wish Beth would be more that way. I wish they would show more of that because it would make her character it would round out her character instead of this like constant being annoying. Like I guess she can be annoying here and there, but every time she's on screen, it's just an eye roll moment, except with this moment, like these scenes like this, I thought it was great. And I want to give shout out to this kid. His name is Carter, and he's played by Finn Little is his name. And I really like this kid. I've seen plenty of shows and movies where kid actors they're terrible. They can't emote any sort of real emotions. It's all dialogue. They tell you how they feel versus showing you how they feel. And this kid is really good. Every time he's on screen, I want to hear him. I want to hear what he has to say. I want to know his story. And they've done a great job with his character in terms of like who he is, where he's from. We don't know a whole lot, but we're learning little pieces. So the dialogue with him and the scenes with him have been really strong. And again, he kind of like takes the place of Jimmy. I'm rooting for this kid. I want this kid to succeed. And I want him to, I hope that he helps humanize Beth and sort of get her off this sort of man-hating trip that she's on. But I really liked him. I think he's great. So anyways, back to this scene. So the sheriff brings Carter to the ranch, and because Carter had told the sheriff that she was his guardian. So apparently he tried to rob like a convenience store with a screwdriver. He's obviously had a bad hand dealt to him, and he's like the prototypical, just sort of a criminal in the making, where he doesn't have any parental supervision, any sort of maternal or paternal love and guidance, and he's lost, and he's been through some shit, and so now he's just hardened, and he's like a wild dog. He's a little unpredictable, but he doesn't seem mean or hateful. He just seems like he's just doing what he thinks he's doing what he thinks will help him survive. So the sheriff and Beth have a little back and forth, and that dialogue was crap. The way they spoke about him and how she's like, "What are his odds?" And then the sheriff just starts talking about, I don't know, just the way he spoke about Carter and how he said how he's for sure going to be this and he's for sure going to be, in the pen, and he's going to be this and that. And it's like, okay, it just didn't seem realistic. Their conversation rubbed me the wrong way. I just didn't like it. They could have done that differently, but regardless, Beth agrees to take him. And the other thing too was Carter. We see Carter now, and he's busted up in the face. Like he's got a black eye, he's got a busted lip. His lip's all purple. So I don't know if that happened during the arrest from the attempted robbery, or something else. We don't know yet. But it's actually the next scene is pretty cool, where Rip comes home from his day at the end of the day, and Beth's on the porch. And it's, again, when Beth and Rip are on the scene together, she's so much more likable, and her guard is down, and she's acting more like a person versus, I don't know, a drunken fucking sailor. She's very sweet, and she can be sweet, and we actually get to see that, and I want more of that from her, just to be a little more calm and I don't know, just be a little more like, I don't know, approachable. Like she's very unapproachable, but Rip and her have a great chemistry together, and their characters, like acting wise too, they do great on scene together. But she brings the kid home, and Rip comes home, and they have a nice little scene back and forth where she kind of surprises him that the kid's inside, and then Rip just loses his shit because that's what Rip does. He's very irrational. His reactions are very quick, and they usually involve the word fuck and some sort of pushing and shoving, if not swinging a fist. That's just the way he is. And it's cool. I mean, it's okay. He has a heart, and you can see it. And we've seen him be, a compassionate person, and just in his sort of gruff way. But he grabs the kid, throws him out, and then he ends up letting him stay, and he throws him in the cellar and locks the door. And they have a little back and forth, Carter and Rip. And I think that Rip and his character, it's a little over the top the way he treats Carter. I mean, he treats Carter like he's not human. And it comes off a little, I don't know, it comes off a little unnerving. It's like, why would you talk to this child this way? He's a child. I mean, he has made some mistakes. He's not perfect, but man, it's like he's treating this kid like this kid just slapped his mama. Like he has no, I don't know. He has almost like he has no compassion, and it's a little weird. I don't know. It's a little too much. I mean, he can be a dick, and I understand why he would be that way, because his character is his character is brash and irrational. But the way he was talking to Carter was just like, man, dude, it's just uncomfortable. But and he wakes him up the next morning, says he's taking him to town. They have a nice little back and forth in the car. We learn a little bit more about Carter, and he ends up throwing Carter out of the truck and yelling at him, telling him to get lost. And so then he drives away, and we see Carter, and I'm telling you, every time I see Carter, he does a great job of emoting just distress, and that feeling like where he looks lost, and he's looking for an anchor. He's looking for some place that he can feel safe, where he can have a meal and get into some sort of like normal life. And I think this kid's doing a great job. I really do. But anyways, Rip turns around, he comes back, and they have a decent little scene. I wish they would have done more with it. I wish they could have given Rip a little bit more of words of wisdom. And not, he doesn't have to be the all wise Rip, but I don't know. The scene wasn't that strong. I wanted it to be stronger. But he offers Carter. Well, when he comes back, Carter, it's funny. They have a nice little scene where, and it's a great cue to his character that we kind of learn about him. When Rip gets out of the truck after he comes back, he drives away and then he comes back. Carter pulls a knife and is ready to defend himself. And he starts telling him, like, let's go. And I thought that was a really cool, like, he is very scared. Like, and he's been in some situations where he feels like, I mean, how many 14-year-olds do you know that just pull a knife, and just is ready to like stab somebody? So he's obviously lived a hard life. And it's like, it's one of those things where, his story has already got its hooks in me, where I just feel bad for this kid and I'm rooting for him. But, then he also says some other stuff about being abused in a foster home, and how he's not going back to the system. So, and again, they did a great job of him delivering lines in a way that wasn't screaming at you, I am this person, this is what I do, this is what I've been through, where they have characters tell everything about themselves in the first 30 seconds of meeting them. So it's like, well, I don't need to learn anything else. You just told me everything. So they've done a great job of introducing this new character. And so it ends up where Rip offers him a job, and is going to let him stay at their house at Rip's, or actually he's going to stay on the ranch. And that's kind of where we left off on that scene. So then they go back to the ranch, and we see Rip is introducing Carter to John. And now Rip seems a little more, he's less hostile with the kid. He talks to him, he cusses at him, but it's more in line with how he treats all the ranch hands. Like, it's just the way he talks to all of his employees this way. And it's just the way Rip is. But he cusses at him a lot, and it's kind of funny because the look on the kid's face, it's just, he does a great job. And Rip and John have a nice conversation about whether or not this is going to work out. And Rip says, we'll see. John, and you can tell, so John and Rip have a nice history where John found Rip after he had murdered his father for killing his mother. I think he killed his mother, but or his dad killed his mother, and then he killed his father for it. I think that's what it was. I think she died. Regardless, that's how John came across Rip, and that's how Rip was introduced in a flashback. I don't know, season 2, season 1, whatever. And so Carter is basically a mirror image of Rip. And John reminds him of this. And I thought that was a cool, it was a cool callback to Rip's character and how Rip's situation, how he began and how he is now. I mean, yeah, he's a dick and he cusses all the time and he's rude, but he's made a man of himself, and he is in a position at Yellowstone where, he is trusted and he is marrying the boss's daughter. I think they haven't gotten married yet. I don't think so. I think they're just engaged. Maybe they are married. I don't know. They do a terrible job of time, so who knows how much time has passed from the last season to this. But regardless, the interaction between John and Rip was cool. I liked it. Um, and then we move along to so after that we see Jimmy. Jimmy comes to the ranch and he gets out, and Mia, I think that's her name. Let me see that. I forgot her name. It is, yeah, Mia. So Mia is there with him, helping Jimmy, out of the truck, and he has a walker. He wears a neck, like a spine brace. He can barely move. He's obviously not going to be a ranch hand again, or ever ride like in a rodeo or anything that we can see right now. But Carter, or not, sorry, I'm not Carter. John and Jimmy have a nice scene, and it was I'm not sure. So John tells Jimmy that, hey, you broke your promise to me, and that's it. You will not work on the ranch as a ranch hand anymore. So I'm not sure what that means, because I actually forgot a scene. I'm going to back up for 1 second. There's a scene earlier between Casey, John, and Rip, and they are talking about John wants to basically get the Yellowstone brand like out there into the world. And there's a character that has been on the show before. His name's Travis. He's played by Taylor Sheridan. He is this like badass rider, like rodeo. I don't know shit about, rodeos. So I'm not going to sit here and I don't know what sport it is, but he does some pretty cool shit on a horse. I mean, for sure. And, he is like the best in the world at competitions. He is a just tried and true winner. He knows how to manage a team. So, John wants to basically, he's from a ranch called King's Ranch that's in Texas, but John basically wants to use him as the Yellowstone's brand on the road, winning shows. And they have a nice back and forth. Travis is a cool character, and I like his dialogue, his lines, the way he talks to John. He's a no bullshit kind of guy, because he's been there and done that. He's not some older guy or anything, but he's at the top of his game, and he knows that. And he's earned a lot of respect. Like all of the Duttons really respect him. So they have a nice conversation, and John is basically going to spend millions of dollars to build this team so that the Yellowstone brand will be as big as King's Ranch. So that circles back to Jimmy. When he's talking to Jimmy about him breaking his promise, he tells Jimmy that he broke his word and that he says you can never work here again, but he says, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to fire you from the ranch. So I don't know where we're going with this, because he tells him he's going to go with Travis, and he's going to go to King's Ranch. And actually Rip tells him that. John says what he says to him, but then Rip comes over and Rip tells Jimmy, you're going with Travis to King's Ranch. And he says, if they can't make a man out of you, I don't know who will. And excuse me. And I wasn't sure what that meant. Is he going to go on the team and ride? Because Jimmy was established as a really good rider. A lot of people in the season, I think it was season 2 when he got hurt, he was started to ride in competitions, and everyone was speaking about him like, hey, he's a star. He's going to be a star. And then he got a major setback with his injury. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Jimmy. I'm not sure. So, and they kind of leave it open. So I'm not sure if he's going down to the ranch to work, because it wouldn't make any sense, right? If he can't work on a ranch, Yellowstone ranch, because he can't ride, he can't rope, he can't do any of the ranch hand jobs, why would he go to King's Ranch to do exactly what he's doing, what he would do on Yellowstone? But he said he's leaving with Travis, and Travis is building a team, so maybe that's what he's doing. We'll see. I don't know. But so then, let's see, where were we? Um, oh, so when there's a little scene between Rip and Carter in the barn, and he's, Rip gave him a job to basically clean the horse shit out of the stalls, and that's his job. And the kid takes it, and it seems like he's afraid of horses. And I thought that was kind of funny. He seems scared of them, like he's backing away from them. He doesn't want to go in the stalls with them, and him and Rip have a nice little back and forth about how he's going to get into the stalls. But so he's already working at this scene. He's doing his job. He's wheelbarrowing the shit out into the back. Rip comes in. They have a nice sort of bonding moment in a way, which I thought was a pretty cool scene. And then Rip takes him to the bunkhouse where all the ranch hands live, and they're all sitting around drinking beers like they always do, playing cards, shooting shit. And there's Lloyd is the main guy. He's the guy that basically runs the ranch hands. He's been around for many years on the Yellowstone Ranch. So he's kind of like, he's underneath Rip in sort of the chain of command. And he hooks up with this woman. Her name is Laramie. I think that's her name, Laramie. And he's an older man. He looks like he's in like his 50s or whatever, but he's like one of those tough old guys. And he's badass. And he sticks up for Jimmy. He really helps and guides Jimmy to be successful on the ranch. Because everyone on the ranch just hated Jimmy. Lloyd was the only one that would stick up for him. But him and Laramie hook up last season, and then another ranch hand who I think is cool as shit. His name's Walker. He is great. He's got his accent is funny. Like, it's not funny like I'm laughing at him, but he's just got the way he talks just always makes me smile. He always says funny shit, and he's a singer, and he's always got his guitar in his hand. But he and Laramie hooked up, and so there was this little scene where Rip takes Carter to the bunkhouse, and with the intention of leaving him there to sleep. And he walks in, and they're talking about fucking, they're talking about drinking, and it's just totally inappropriate for a 14-year-old child. And Rip, again, the way Rip talks to him, like I said, it's just completely over the top. He treats him like shit. But there's that little seed that's planted there where he looks around for like 5 seconds, hears the conversation, and then grabs Carter and says, "Come on, we're not staying here." So that Rip cares. He has a heart, and he has a compass. Like, he knows a child should not be in that environment. But after they leave, they walk out, and we stay in the bunkhouse for a few, and we see Lloyd at the table playing cards, drinking beer, and then Laramie and Walker are off to the side. Laramie's got his guitar and he's singing. He screams out to Lloyd, "Hey, do you have any requests?" Lloyd just gives him a shitty look and he won't answer him. I really hope that they're not going to make some little love triangle with Lloyd, Laramie, and Walker, because it just kind of seems dumb, because Lloyd seems like the type of guy who just, he's been around, he's been there, he's done that. It doesn't seem like something like that would bother him. And they never really grew. Laramie and Lloyd's relationship never grew to some sort of like love where they were making plans for each other. They just hooked up. So it just seemed a little weird that Lloyd would all of a sudden be jealous of Walker. And Walker, he just doesn't give a shit. That's just the way he is. And Laramie, she's fine. She didn't even bat an eye when Lloyd was being that way. So I don't know. I really hope they don't make a big drama soap opera shit out of that, because it would just kind of detract from Lloyd's character. So the next scene, we see Rip, Beth, and Carter having dinner, and it's a fun, like, nice scene. I really enjoyed that scene. And again, when Beth is being a normal human, she is awesome. Like, she is funny. Her lines can be really funny. And the way her and Rip, their chemistry, you can see the love between them two. And now the fact that she can't have children, which, has been brought up multiple times between her and Rip. This is like a son. You can see this is becoming like a son figure for both of them. And I hope there's going to be trouble, there's going to be trials and tribulations, but I hope that their relationship really does grow, because they all three together make a killer trio. When Beth is with, I'm sorry, I keep wanting to say Walker. When Beth is with Rip, she is her best self in the show. That's when she is like the best. And Carter is great. He's got great charisma. He's a good actor, and his character for them is perfect because he's like a little baby Rip, and Rip can see himself in him, and he can guide him like a father. And I really enjoyed that scene. It really was. It was great. It was just one of those like little heartwarming scenes that those get me. I'm a sucker for that type of stuff. Those feel good moments where it's just like, where you see those three characters who they you wouldn't think they would be together, but they all ended up together, and to see them, sort of building something, I think that's awesome. So I hope that turns out great. I mean, I'm rooting for Carter in a big way. I'm a big fan of Rip. And if Beth could just be not, if she would just stop being so vulgar all the time and just trying to degrade every man that she meets, she would actually be a character that I would like and root for. So we'll see. And the more scenes with Rip and Carter means better scenes with Beth. So I'm all for that shit. So then the last scene of the show, John, I'm sorry, yeah, it's John again in the barn. So it kind of does full circle how we started the episode with John in the barn going on a ride. We're going back to that same thing. And he's in the barn, and as he's getting ready to leave, Carter comes jogging in, and he sees John, and he's like, "Damn it, I'm late." And Rip said, "I have to be the first person in the barn." And him and John have a nice little back and forth, good scene between them two. I like Kevin Costner as an actor. I think Kevin Costner is a good actor. He's one of those actors where I don't think his acting is spectacular, but every movie he's in, I seem to like. So maybe he is a spectacular actor, and I'm just kidding myself. But uh, I think him and Carter, their characters they're cool together. And Carter, as again this kid, Finn, what's his name? I can't remember. I have to scroll up real quick. I forgot his name. Finn Little. He handles his own. He holds his own on the scene with all of those big time actors. So good for him. But they have a nice conversation, and John is already soft. He's already like got a soft spot for him. You can just tell he knows he's like a little junior Rip, and it was a good scene. And that was pretty much it. And then we see John riding off into the morning sun, and then Carter's standing there watching him leave. So overall, I thought this episode I thought it was good. I thought it was episode 1 had such a killer opening with that gun battle that was just like, it was awesome. I absolutely loved that scene. That's that whole opening sequence in general with all the characters, minus a few hiccups. But this episode was obviously, it was more slow. It was like the slower pace, kind of chilled out a little bit, and we started digging into the characters and where we are and what we're going to be doing, sort of setting the stage for the rest of the season. And I like where everything's going. It's a little bit of rinse and repeat with another corporate big so-and-so coming in and trying to take over. I mean, that's been the theme for 3 seasons, and now it looks like the 4th will just repeat that. I wish they could find a different angle. I do. I kind of wish that it would be more of like Rainwater and John. That would be a nice little duel. Two big, sort of leaders of their groups, just sort of, and they had a little bit of that in season 1, but it's kind of like where Rainwater and John they're kind of working parallel to one another. They're not necessarily going after one another like they were before because of all these corporations who keep coming in. But they do make a cool team. So I wonder if they're going to be working together to push this corporate, whatever. I don't remember the name of the company either. I don't even think they even say. When Jackie shows up, it's not like they introduce her as like, she is so-and-so from this company, like a lot of shows do. But I'll be curious to see where they go with this. They set a great stage with Carter's character, Rip and Beth. I want to see where that's going. The Jamie the Jamie story with his dad and what's going on with them. I'm interested in that because, like I said, I think Jamie's dad is the one who was involved with trying to get the Duttons wiped out, because when we first meet Garrett and he's talking to Jamie, he starts like immediately telling him how you're living in this man's shadow. You need to strike on your own. and you are just as much right to that land and to Yellowstone as anybody else. And so that's why I think he just has his own agenda. So I'll be interested to see what happens with that. But I think I've covered plenty. Thank you for taking the time. I think this show is worth watching. I think it's good enough for me to watch, and I think it's good enough for that people will enjoy. There are plenty of drawbacks. There are plenty of plot holes and character, just bad character dialogue and that type of shit. But I'm still enjoying it enough to continue watching, and I'll continue to review each episode as they come out. But other than that, thank you for coming by. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. And I know that they're eliminating the thumbs down, but while we still have the time, if you feel like shooting a thumbs down, it's okay with me. If you didn't like the video, thumbs down is just fine. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of this. If you're watching Yellowstone, let me know what you thought of it. I'd love to interact with you guys. Shoot me an email, and I'll leave my emails my email address at the end of every video. So if you want to shoot me a question, you want to know something, want me to cover something, I'd be more than happy to do that. And other than that, thanks for taking the time. I kind of drew a blank there. I was staring at my notes here to make sure I covered everything. But yeah, if you haven't subscribed, I would appreciate it, and click the notification bell. Share it with your friends you think they'll enjoy it. Other than that, thanks for stopping in, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.